I would like to take this brief moment before our episode to apologize to our listeners for my Scrooge like behavior on the last episode, as per Shao. That is all. Beam, 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 beam. Chummy Thumbs is back with another deep dive, and this time we're stepping into paradise. And no, I'm not talking about Xiaopin's butthole, a brand new series that's already got us asking a ton of questions. Who's in charge? What's the deal with this underground society? And just how far would you go to survive? In this special series, we'll be breaking down each episode, analyzing the twists, the world building, and the characters driving the story, from cryptic six-digit codes to mysterious monologuing fruit. Yeah, we're looking at you, James, and your giant peach. We're covering it all. We'll wrap things up with some doom, with some dome of knowledge trivia. Because in a world like paradise, knowledge might just be the key to survival. For those of you who don't know, Paradise is a Disney Plus slash Hulu drama thriller series about a murder in a seemingly peaceful community. The series follows Special Agent Xavier Collins, played by Sterling K. Brown, as he investigates the assassination of President Cal Bradford, played by James Marsden. The series is set in a seemingly peaceful community inhabited by some of the world's most prominent individuals. The tranquility of the community is shattered when President Cal Bradford is murdered. Xavier Collins, the president's head of security, becomes the prime suspect in the murder, and he must prove his innocence while also trying to track down the murderer. Shocking, he uncovers shocking secrets about the community he thought he knew. Man, boys, I don't know about you guys. I'm going to throw it to you for some initial thoughts. But for me, I'm glad because so this episode show, it's new. It came out last week, but they released the first three episodes all at once. New episodes coming every Tuesday. So we're actually going to talk about and break down the first two episodes. Next, Chummy Thumbs podcast, we'll do episodes 3 and 4, and then we'll be doing each episode as they come out. Uh, this is a show I'm really happy that we actually started doing. We did 2 episodes in one because for me, like the first one was good. It was intriguing. Like the cliffhanger at the end was sort of like what hooked me, but kind of throughout the first episode, I didn't really. I wasn't a big fan of the pacing, the cinematography choices. I wasn't a huge fan of. It was like it was okay, but the second episode, I was like, oh, okay. I felt like the flashback sequences, the pacing, the storytelling, everything was a lot crisper and just in general, like a way better episode than episode one. So I don't know how you guys felt. I'm gonna throw it to you.
I think I agree with you. I First of all, I didn't know a lot about this show. I only knew that Cyclops is in it. What's his name? Anyone? James?
James
James.
Marsden.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I only know he was in it. Wim's dad. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I barely knew anything. I watched a bit of the trailer and I was talking to Justin. There was one part of the trailer that really made me interested was the part where Dr. Tarabi had to say yes on her hand during the sort of questioning part on the second. Is it the second episode? Yeah. So I kind of like that the vibe of it. It felt like it was one of those who done it or who's the mole, that kind of stuff. It reminded me a little bit of 24 in a way. Um, but like Justin said, I had no idea that it was one of those Truman Show-esque environments, dystopian, utopian sort of things. Um, have any of you guys watched Silo or heard of Silo? Apparently, it's kind of similar. My dad really likes that show, but it's kind of sort of in the same realm kind of thing. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
I haven't seen Silo. I do watch Fallout. Super jacked for season 2 of that, and it's the same. It's yeah, like honestly, this is sort of I had no idea going in it was like that either. it's sort of the third one. There's Silo, Fallout, and now this that all is like dealing with some extinction level event, which I actually want to get to
Yeah.
with you guys about that. And it's neat because I haven't seen Silo, but it's like from what I know of it, and with Fallout and with this, it's interesting seeing the different approaches. This we must build like these underground sanctuaries for humanity to survive.
Right.
I would definitely check out Silo. But no, I did not know, and that was sort of that like that's the big reveal at the end of episode one.
Yeah. As the
It's that they're
goes up, up,
yeah,
up, and you see the rafters, and then you see whatever.
yeah,
Right. So, I do agree with you. I was a little bit. I felt like I was just a little bit lost at the beginning because there were so many questions. There was a lot of
yeah,
as they're trying to figure out, even as the characters themselves are very confused as well. The audience also probably even more so confused. Um, yeah, you mentioned a lot of questions. One of the biggest ones is probably what's actually in the tablet, the thing that was stolen.
hey,
Correct?
the data pad.
Oh, yes, the doing throughout the whole. Um, I guess I started with Wimstad, but um, you know, questions about his wife and how she died and why, why what happened between Bradford and should we call him X? Um,
Yeah,
what happened between them two to have him want him dead essentially, and yeah, there's a lot of Peach stuff. I have some theories. We can go into theories later on. The cigarette box slash the cigarette with the numbers. Don't really know that. So those are the main things about the first episode that kind of keep me wanting more and trying to figure out you know, what direction they're going in.
yeah. There was a scene in it was in the first episode, and honestly, it didn't even click in for me until watching the second episode and the recap. And he holds up the cigarette box and he said, I think he said something like, "See, I told you these are going to kill me one day." And I was like, "Oh, what is he alluding to there?" And then, of course, there's the 6-digit code written on the one cigarette. And yes, we're going to get into some theories and all that stuff. Hayden, first impressions?
Not at all what I thought it was going to be. I mean, it started off, I was like, okay, this is going to be a clever whodunit told in flashbacks sort of story, which I was like, oh, these are always kind of fun to follow along with. So I was intrigued by that. But then, yeah, with the reveal at the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, okay, so they're in like a giant underground bunker. Why? And then it goes into the second episode and it reveals a little bit more as to what's going on and why the X is brought into it and whatnot, but still, leaves a lot more questions that we can theorize with later. But initially, yeah, I mean, it was a slow start, but it was kind of good that I'm glad that we watched the first two because you get through the slow start and then it kind of continues on rolling. But the whole time I was like, before the reveal of the end of the first episode, I was like, where in DC does this guy live that he can walk to the White House? I'm like, he just walks to work. And then, of course, it's revealed. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're in. And that brings up a whole bunch of other questions that I'll bring up in when we theorize. But initial thoughts, yeah, I was a little worried that Mr. Marsden was going to be like, first episode and then done. Like, oh, they killed him in the first episode. That's it. See you later. They hook you in with the trailer that he's in it. I was like, sweet, I like that guy. But I think he's going to be popping up in pretty much every episode with some backstory revolved into like the development of why they are where they are. So otherwise, good, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I always get a bit nervous when stories are told through flashbacks because I feel like you got to nail it. And I that's where I thought it was a bit chunky in the first episode. Maybe they didn't even have flashbacks. Maybe it was like putting the flashbacks in and getting more of the story in the second episode that sort of helped pace it along properly. Okay, like I don't know about you guys, but one of the first things I kind of thought was, okay, so in episode 2, we find out. I mean, the end of episode 1, we find out they're living in this bunker, right? Episode 2, we figure out, sort of a little bit of to why there's some sort of extinction level event. Now they're sitting in at that one, lecture, and the guy's talking about this, like giant tsunami that's going to come and wipe out the West Coast, but like that's not extinction level, right? That's just sort of coastal places. So, but they really play like that might be what it is, just because she chased after him, or maybe it's just showing that, hey, she is concerned about this type of stuff happening, and so we're going to find out later what the actual one is. It was like, okay, so they prep this bunker, they have endless amounts of money, so obviously they can get this thing done quick. They got the manpower, they got the budget behind it, and they allude to it holding, like, it needs to be capable to hold 25,000 people. Okay, massive, for an underground bunker in a mountain. So then you're obviously going to pick the 25,000 people that are allowed entry. So I was like, why would a president, an ex-president at that, so we think, maybe he is still president. I don't know, that part's still a little bit unclear. He's not living at the White House, so I think he's ex, but really is there White House down there? Anyways, what I'm getting at is, why would you need that level of security to protect you if you're living in an environment where you've more or less, I'd think, have hand selected or approved the people to be in that place? And I get it, like, you're gonna have security, but like, even the security people didn't have guns. Like, it's a no gun society. Like, he even alluded to it. It's like, hand over your weapon before the interrogation, and he's like, you mean my Nerf gun? So I was like, what? Like, obviously we'll probably find out more, but on that interrogation, the therapist, the psychiatrist, flips her hand to say yes, and then she uses that answer when she's talking with Jane, because Jane's trying to figure out if she should believe him, if he's lying. And he said, well, if this guy's a professional liar, why would he agree? Because, okay, so backstory for people listening, if you don't know, he's being interrogated for the question of the murder. It's going on. They asked, did you murder him? And then she asked a question of, is it like, what was it? Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. It was something like, is a part of you happy he's dead? And then she turns over her hand, and on the inside of her hand, which the people behind the, double mirror can't see, it says, say yes. He says yes. So then she uses that information later and says, well, if he's a professional liar, because Jane asks her if she thinks he's lying. He said, well, if he's a professional liar, why would he then say yes to that answer? Because if he's a professional liar and he could cheat the lie detector test, he would just say no to that and pass. So it's interesting. I was like, ooh, why did she do that? She got him to say that and then use that to get Jane to believe what she wanted. So is she, like, does she know something? Is she trying to work behind the scenes? I don't know if you guys noticed that or thought about that. Curious about your thoughts, if you think.
I didn't think that deeply about it, honestly.
No?
It was just a moment where I thought she just wanted to help him because she believes him. She knows that he's not involved, I guess. Meaning, I think Dr. Tarabi knows that X isn't involved, so I just wanted to help him get out of there and use that as a tactic. I didn't think about the after stuff, but that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's the start of it, so it's kind of like who's in on it, who's out on it, would Sinatra, why would she want to? Obviously, she's the one pulling the strings on the dome, but does she want political power? Does the doctor want power and is trying to run things? It's I was gonna say it's a little bit. It's easy to see his alibi of when the murder happened, but then of course I was like, oh wait, the cameras get locked out for an hour and a half or whatever, so he technically could have made it back there while his buddy was snoozing. At the time of it, I was just like, yeah, who's playing who here? Which brought up a thing that I'm going to throw out now is that if there's only 25,000 people left on the US, are they still a superpower in the world? So why the hell do they need, one, a president, two, all of this heightened security? Why is he still, like, why would someone want to kill him? It was like, didn't quite make sense to me why such a small portion of the United States is still worth anything to the rest of the world. And, but then that also made me think, well, maybe the outside of the US isn't fully destroyed because they have that round table. And I did a Shao trick because I had to have like the volume quiet, so I had the subtitles on. And then they have that war room with all of the fat cats in there, and it's like billionaire 1, billionaire 2 talking. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, why the heck is there the need for billionaires if there's nothing left on the surface? What are they getting their money from, and why do they need their money still?
So I just want to acknowledge that for a second. I was going to bring this up at a later part in the show, but since you brought up billionaires, I wonder if, because she's obviously a billionaire, she's wealthy. So when I was doing some research, some deep diving into how long would this actually take to make this thing, and like what would the costs be? So the estimated cost to even build such a structure would be somewhere from 170 billion to 480 billion dollars. So my guess would be that these are the people that helped fund it to build it, so that they would also get a head at the table. But yeah, I don't know, and maybe that's something that'll come up at the end of the season or something. Maybe the doors open and you see it's kind of apocalyptic, but you know, that's their safe haven. And the other thing is, if it's built to hold 25,000 people, I was thinking, well, because they made that comment about, you know, mostly we just keep DNA, so you know, cousins don't end up having kids together, and you know, however, like 100 years or whatever it is. So that makes me think, okay, the capacity might be for 25,000, but maybe there's quite a bit less than 25,000, because you need to keep civilization going. You need to repopulate. Obviously, there'd have to be some sort of, you know, control limits to how many kids you can have, all that type of stuff. And then, because you would have to think it'd have to be well plotted out, because if it was nuclear war, say, you know, you might not be able to go to the surface for a very long time. So you'd have to be able to sustain there for, you know, generations.
Which is what I was going to bring up with what exactly had happened, because they allude to have that guy's going like all of these things are going to happen in the next 10 years or whatever. And then when they're flying in a flashback, you hear bombs going off. So there's it's either they've been attacked or their own weapon supplies going off. So yeah, the east, well, wherever Colorado is geographically, is that more central west? I don't know. The U.S.
I'd say yeah, it's a bit, maybe a bit more, a little west of central, but
what division the Avalanche in?
they would be in the central.
There you go. Hockey comes clutch for at least one thing.
Hey, thank you for bringing this background to hockey, Aiden. Appreciate that.
So that kind of leaves like, okay, why are they getting bombed there of all places? Or is there a base there? I don't know. There was so many things that came up. I was like, so like if you look at what is the actual government spending on the military in the US, it's like in the trillions, isn't it? So
yeah.
they just took the money from the military and put it into building this bunker. That'd be fine, because like, it's all right, guys, you're going to be obliterated in like a decade anyway, so there's no need for you.
Yeah.
But that's my main thing was like, they're underground. Why is there need for this tablet and a president? Like, the rest of the world's going to be like, there's only 25,000 of you left. You've got no more superpower. You've got no more military. So we don't really care about your country anymore. No.
Yeah, it's actually our country now. You keep your hole.
Yeah.
We'll take the rest of the resources. This is one of those ones where it was really hard after the second episode. It's like, oh man, I really want to watch the third episode right now. And I'm watching it with Kate, and I was like, we can't watch the third one yet. She's like, why not? I was like, I can't get ahead. But yeah, hey, question, Hayden. When I was, it made me think of this when was watching it, because for those of you who don't know, Hayden used to be whoop 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 the 5-0. Have you ever interrogated anybody?
Yes, lots of people.
What's that like? What are you looking for? Can you tell when they're lying to you?
I've never had to use like the polygraph machine thing. Isn't really used in Australia because it's not
I just mean like
accurate.
just watching it, like
I was
yeah.
I was a study of faces, so I used to watch a lot, and you're basically trying to trick someone into acknowledging like a lie, if that's how I approached it. So you just ask questions on behavior, and it's not necessarily always to do with the action. It's just a general thing to see how they respond. That's how I did it. So most people were very direct, and they used to be like talking just about the crime, whereas I would ask different things about the person's life just to see how they would respond.
And then like throw in a crime one to see the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a couple of things that to see if you agree with.
I'll watch him, Shao. I'll watch him.
Okay. No, I just looked up signs of people lying. So I want to see if Hayden, you kind of agree. So number one, even I know I've heard this one is eye contact, where the people say that you tend to look to the left or something when you're lying, or up to the left when you're lying. You're trying to think of an answer or something. I feel like that. What do you have a response to that, Hayden? Do you think that's something you would look for? And if you see that a lot, would you say, okay, this guy's,
It depends on who you were talking to, because some cultures specifically don't look you in the eye when you talk to them. So, and one of those is like Aboriginal Australians, who I had to talk with on occasion, and so that was a difficult one. But in general, I find that if someone can't keep eye contact with me, they're not telling me everything straight.
Because this one is kind of goes with that. It says eye pointing. They might look towards the nearest exit or at their watch if they want to leave. Meaning, if they're uncomfortable, they'll be like, "Yeah, I wasn't involved in that at all." So, lack of gestures. They might have difficulty using gestures like pointing or tapping their hands, breathing changes, covering their mouths. Like, yeah, that's a good one. I don't
Curling
know.
the mustache.
Yeah. Curling,
Mhm.
curling the mustache. Yes, stroking beard. Yeah. Repeating words, fidgeting, vague answers, grooming behaviors, meaning they might play with their hair or press their fingers together, like so. Physical changes, like they might sweat more, muscle tension, or be restless. And finally, rehearsed script. There's a lot of these things that, together. I wonder if it's easy if you study this long enough to trick the system. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to throw it. Hayden used to be whoop whoop, but Shao used to be. That was a jail cell door slamming. I don't know. Shao, have you ever been interrogated, and were you honest?
I have been interrogated one time, but not like in a police sort of thing. I guess interrogate is not the right word. I mean, I was caught doing bad things, and then I was brought into a back room, questioned. But it's not like a police thing. It was maybe I've told the story, but it was when I was working at Starbucks, and then there was like a did I tell the story? It was kind of a scam.
It's a great story.
So, yeah, I just got caught red-handed, and then my manager was like, "What the hell, man? Like, like, I learned this from someone else." Like,
oh, you snitched right off the bat. Oh my!
But I just pretty much said I didn't think there would be harm in it because I'm now having returning customers, and then she kind of agreed in a way. Yeah, fuck, that's true, but don't do it. Like,
yeah,
like so. That's kind of the only time I never was interrogated or questioned by any lawful authority figure.
Right.
Have you, Justin?
That's all the time we have. I have on four different occasions.
I was gonna say on
Two
multiple
two
occasions.
two at a police station, two different police stations, one in the back of a police car, and one in my parents' living room.
Hold on, in the living room.
Shout out to my mom actually for that one. I was in the shower. We got into some stuff the night before, me and some buds, and I was in the shower, and there's just a knock at the door of the bathroom. I was like, "Yeah, I'm in here," or whatever. My mom says, "Get out and get dressed. The police are on their way over." And I was like, "Oh shit." So I got out, got dressed, and then they came and um, right away they came in and they came upstairs and they asked my mom to leave, and she was like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, like sometimes it's easier for," I was a teenager at the time, kids to talk when their parents aren't there. And she was like, "No, anything he has to say to you, he can say in front of me." And I was like, "Oh my God, mom, thank you so much for not just like leaving me with the cop. Um, anyways, gave him an alibi, and he said, "So if I call this person, they'll confirm." And I said, "Yeah." And of course, it was a made up story, but I knew that my buddy would verify it, because like it was true up until the point, but we had actually like snuck out of his house in the evening when his parents were asleep to go and you know be teenagers. So he just told him the same story, that I was over there and spent the night. So it all worked out well. Shout out Mamba Turnbull. Yeah, so that's that one. Maybe we'll get into another three another time. So moving along here, let's assume, okay, let's assume for a second that these weren't the only billionaires who had access to this, apocalyptic, categorically bad thing that was happening on Earth. And let's assume that there's other countries who did this as well. Who do you think, which country do you think would have designed, came up with, or would have the most exciting dome? Like the dome in this one, it seems very like suburbia. Like she even alludes to it, Sinatra in episode 2, that she wants it to look like anywhere America. And it does. It looks like suburbia. By the way, I just want to say that was a beautiful touch at the end of episode 2 with the flashback sequence to her dying son, and they were talking about heaven. And she said, "Heaven is whatever you want it to be." And how would you like it to be? And he said, "I'd like there to be horses, like a lot of horses you could ride." And then they show like B-roll of Paradise, their underground town, and they have all those little riding horses around town. Oh, fucking melted my heart. That was beautiful. Anyways, what country do you think would come up with the coolest dome?
It's a good question. You know what's funny? When you say that, all I can think about right now is pretty much North Korea is living in a dome already. But obviously, I don't
So
want.
that you think that theirs would be the best? They have it dialed. It's already,
They have the most,
yeah.
have the most experience already. No, but I'm just thinking of, um, uh, man, because okay, China right now, their technology and all that stuff is actually really impressive. It really, I think a lot of places in the world is quite behind. Japan, I think, would make a really good one.
Yeah.
Is they're very organized, very clean, they're very economical, they're very efficient. Everything's on time and all that stuff. Um, I know I'm kind of gearing towards Asian countries because that's just mostly where I've been spending my time in the last 10 years. But Singapore is also really would be really good. Singapore managed to take a city that is not necessarily a desert, but kind of. It's very hot and whatever, and they're the only country that has in the heart of the city, it's kind of a mixed with a jungle vibe. There's a lot of plants, and that reduces, heat and makes a lot of oxygen and all that stuff. So I think I would like a mixture of something like Singapore and Japan. I think, but if to answer your question more specifically, I think Japan would make a really good dome.
Dude, I'm with you on like it's going to be some Asian country for sure. I agree with all of those. I do think technology wise they're far ahead, and also even just architecturally, man, like you look at cities sort of around the world, especially in North America here and even parts of Europe. Europe's got like the nice kind of old historic stuff. North America, it's just kind of bland. I mean, even like take Vancouver, for example, it's all just like green glass. I mean, they're starting to get some cooler looking buildings, but then you see like city shots of some of these Asian cities, and it's just like the lights and the way the buildings are designed, and like, it's like they're using their city as a canvas for this, and they're using the buildings as like the art. And I really think that's cool. So I would have to agree with you. I think it would be some Asian country, probably Japan, China, Singapore, flip a three-headed coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like even maybe like South Korea.
Yeah, they're really cool too. I've only been there once, but it's really cool. Hey's like in Australia, like
Have you seen the cities and buildings in Canberra, bruh?
First off, as Total Recall has taught us, Australia survives any apocalyptic event. 2, Australia would be a shit place for it because we don't have any natural resources there. There's nothing. There's not much water. You can't really live. I mean, if they were to anyway, Australia would not be the place that I would choose.
But the diverse wildlife, though, Hayden.
Diverse wildlife?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've managed to survive on nothing. Side note, the most venomous snake in the world lives in the middle of nowhere, Australia, and it's so venomous because it doesn't eat very often. So when it has something to kill, it has to be able to kill it. So its venom level takes out like 20 elephants or something.
What's the name of it again? Is it the actually I don't remember.
It's part of the brown snake family.
Brown, yeah. Well, I remember it's a kind of brown snake. I used to watch Crocodile Hunter all the time. Anyways, go on, Hayden.
Initially, I was going to say, like, not just one country. I was going to cheat it and say, like, the European Union would probably make a really good, EU bunker somewhere. But the more you spoke about the Asian countries, I was like, you know what? They are technically, they're probably more efficient. They'll be able to do it quicker, better technology. And then I thought, who's got a ton of money that's building cities out of the desert in no one's time? So I was like, somewhere in the Middle East. UAE or Dubai, one of those two. I mean, they're already building like the 10-kilometer long skinny cities or whatever they are. That's all based out of nothing. So they're already creating that sort of stuff above ground. It wouldn't be too difficult for them to move it underground. So I would say it's somewhere. It's still technically part of Asia. So they're kicking everybody else's ass in the world. Clearly, Shao doesn't agree with that statement. But
no. I never said anything.
Judging by the way that you rolled your eyes and shook your head,
And
interrogation would tell me that the Middle East doesn't count as Asia.
I totally think they...
He's not lying. So I think we can all agree it's going to be some Asian country. So here's my next question. What is it like? What is a must? And Hayden, you can't say fucking kangaroos, but what is a must for you in your dome?
The meat is good, apparently.
Yeah. If you like eating rodents.
Yeah. What's a must? Ooh.
That's a tough one because obviously and I don't mean like water or like have fun with the question. Don't be a nerd, Hayden. Like I can already see you being like, well, actually, I was gonna say like the horticulture, vertical farming. Yeah.
and a way
These
to
are
store the food. That's
so
a
these are
must.
those are obvious things. Okay, let me put it this way. Not a must then, a want. What is like one want? Think about it. You're going into a bunker. You're going to live out potentially the rest of your life there, raise a family there. They're going to grow up there, and they're going to potentially raise a family there. What is something that you're just like, if I'm going to survive this, I need this. I gotta have this.
Do you have something in mind first? I can't seem to think of anything right now. I'm sure
Shout.
there's maybe it's just one of those questions where there's so many things.
A hockey rink, a hockey rink. Gotta have it. Gotta have a nice. Yeah, you got to.
Well, okay, Hayden, let's be democratic about this.
Entertainment.
That's what I was gonna say.
An arena where you can have several different surfaces. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say. I was gonna say hockey is too narrow-minded. I was gonna say entertainment or sports. You know, like
Yeah.
Yes, yes, came across my mind. If we have the money, let's just say it's not an issue with the money, we can have easily an arena with several different floors and surfaces. So we can accommodate all sorts of.
Because on a normal arena, you could do basketball, you could do ice hockey, you could do lacrosse, you could do indoor soccer, much more exciting than standard. And
so much more. I like it.
Yeah.
You can play dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Yeah. Badminton.
Tennis.
Yes. List goes on, but that's a must for sure.
Yeah.
that would.
You know what's weird? It just sorry, I just feel like in my mind, what are musts to places that I visit are certain types of food. So in terms of, I can't just say like sushi or whatever because I feel like, but I just feel like if it's a dome, I just need a certain level of diversity in / cuisine. I think that it sounds like a very straight on answer or whatever, but I think that's very important. Also to create superior mixed races. So it goes hand. So diversity.
Maybe like a giant skylight, just so you if you could see the sun, you still maybe get some natural stuff. Also, you could just see what the world is like outside the dome, or a big window.
Oh, or like a cam, like maybe like some sort of live feed cam, like a channel, like not the hotel channel, but you can turn on channel 3 and look at this is where Utah was. Or
here's what the apocalypse looks like today.
Yeah.
Is there thunder? What color is it? You're gonna call me a real old fuddy-duddy here, but
yeah, that's a word I use all the time, Hayden. Jesus
such
Christ.
an old fuddy-duddy. But if you were to have that diversity, you would have to have a library of astronomical sizes so that you would be able to learn different cultures, right? Because if you only had, I mean, we didn't specify how many people were going to be in our domes, but if it was the size of what the show had, which was 25,000, you wouldn't be able to have 25. I mean, you might if you were from the US or like a very multicultural country, you might be able to get that many different things. But if you didn't, if you decided that you were going to be, I'm only going to get the standard people here.
What does that mean? Can you elaborate?
Well, it's not going to be every single culture of the world based out in Canada or America or Australia.
But what's standard? What would a standard Canadian or standard American be? Can you elaborate?
No idea. The people that are, I guess, not immigrated or refugees. So they're Canadian born.
Indigenous people?
I didn't say that.
Oh, no, just because, I mean, technically everybody else is immigrated or...
Technically, yeah. But see, the Indigenous would be part of it.
We're just trying to get you canceled, man.
I know you are, and it's not going to work. Because you know what I mean. Like, the point of it is that there wouldn't always be all of that. So Shao's like good choices in foods, right? But if you only had people that knew certain cuisine, they had no options to learn anything else, especially if the rest of the world is like kaput. So a library, like the Library of Congress or whatever in the US, is really good because it has records of everything. Like I usually only follow it for film because they put films in there of cultural significance, right? So there's going to be like, oh, this is a recipe of cultural significance. It's now in the library. So if anyone, 2 generations down the track when we're still living underground wants to learn, the ancient art of sushi roll making or whatever that has since gone out of, they're like, what is this? It's rolled rice. Like, what the heck is that? I learned it from the library. Yes, I sound like a total geek and a nerd, but
You do, because I would take a completely different approach than that. If it was my dome, I would
You'd want-
completely eliminate history as we know it, and I would write it myself. I would write the Bible, and I would be Jesus. I mean, and like, because this is your one chance to rewrite history, and then because the only people coming up, they're going to learn what you teach them. I'd be completely.
you would have to make sure that you were the youngest person in that dome who's an adult, because there's going to be a whole other realm of people that are going to remember the past, and if they outlive you, then you're screwed.
No, my disciples will take care of them.
You know what? We would invent like the total recall system, so that people could have these, or these imprints of false memories put into it.
But I mentioned North Korea before already. That's essentially what they're doing. Just eliminate anyone who doesn't believe or worship him. So
Yeah.
Justin will just
He's got to figure it out.
Justin will just be a horrible dictator. Anyways,
I am the leader of this world.
I would be.
Nothing existed 25 years ago.
He's gonna be like Putin playing hockey, and he's gonna score like 30 goals.
Yeah. Nobody checks.
Goalie's like sort of the puck, and then he scores. Yeah,
that's it. That's the kind of respect I demand in my dome.
Okay, quick question.
Otherwise, fuck off. You know what I mean?
Quick question though. What would your title be? Would you be an emperor, a king, a president?
No, those are boring.
Messiah?
No, it's been used.
God.
I think of something original like chakra. It'd be chakra.
Like your chakras?
The one chakra who rules them all.
The one chakra. Yeah. I just
SHAQ, that kind of shack.
Ooh,
The chakra.
The chakra. Yeah. Okay.
That's your symbol to the people?
Yeah. That would be the salute.
The chakra.
And then when you greet people, they have to do they link it up like a scissor. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, we're creating something already, boys.
I have 2 opening spots for disciples if you guys are in. Just throwing it out there. You do have to pass a skating test, but
I'm fine then. I can skate.
To be determined. Okay, let's move on. We all agree some Asian place would probably make the best dome, and I think we all kind of contributed something of value to making sure this dome had to keep knowledge, culture, and entertainment a part of it, to keep the people happy and people satisfied. I think I'm willing to open up my dictatorship. It could be a 3-way dictatorship. But moving on. Okay, we're getting close to the time here, people. So I know I said we'd talk about our doomsday prep, and I also talked about some of the research I did on the amount of time and what it would take to actually build a underground dome of this magnitude. But we're going to pick one of the 2, but I'll start off with and maybe we'll just skip right out of this one if you haven't, but have you guys ever done, I've sat down with my buddies before, generally we're probably stoned but not always, and talked about zombie apocalypse and what you would do, how you would handle it, and okay, are we talking World War Z zombie apocalypse, or are we talking Walking Dead zombie apocalypse? Have you guys ever come up with any sort of plan, or are you just like, going to be one of the first ones to die when it happens because it's happening?
Well, I have thought about it, but not in depth in a way where it's more so survival thoughts, not so much rebuilding and long-term stuff.
Oh yeah, this is just survival. Yeah.
So I think one of the places, because of course now I think about currency is nothing anymore. Currency is what keeps you alive to barter, and what keeps you alive, water and food.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people,
And
the
weapons.
first place they would go to is probably go to some sort of grocery store and hoard, and everything you get is currency, essentially, I guess you can say. So if you can, if I can sort of overthrow and kind of claim like a save on foods or something, um, then that'd be a good start. Um, I don't really have any sort of bunker or anything that is a safe haven for me during a zombie apocalypse. I'm not saying that Save on Foods is entirely safe too, but it just has those resources. And I think, of course, now I think about who to befriend, who to keep around me. What can this person do? Will this person slow me down? That kind of thing. I need to start thinking about who I can utilize and who I can use off of, or whatever, that kind of thing. But I think either a grocery store or perhaps an airport will be my sort of starting point base.
Yeah. Obviously, like priorities: water, food,
Right.
weapons.
Right. See, that's the thing. So I don't have the weapons in
Yeah. No, I'd probably go for weapons first.
because then you can
one,
take.
yes, and one, to defend yourself from the zombies, but also two, to protect yourself from the people that are trying to steal your food and water. And I'm with you. You'd have to go to some sort of grocery store or warehouse place, but everybody's gonna go there first. Like everybody's going. So you'd almost have to split up. This is why you have a plan in place with friends. Like one goes for the weapons, one goes. I wouldn't set up shop. I think it would be mayhem, but you definitely got to get there and go. I would want to set up like shelter either somewhere mountainous or possibly, because zombies can't swim. So get a boat and maybe take a boat out to like a different island, like a smaller island or something, and set up. You need gas, but you want to be somewhere. And also why you want weapons is because you want to like hunt for your food, right? Because canned food's only going to last so long. So you need that, be able to hunt food and water to start. It's just going to be absolute mayhem at first. You got to be surrounded with people who are willing to do good people, but who are also willing to do what it takes to survive. And you need, and I hate to say this, but a healthy amount of women with you. Because I know, not because they're women, Shao. I saw you get really excited, but because, and this is where it starts to get dark, and this is where you need that one person. But when women have babies, and so babies can survive off breast milk, so you just like Mad Max style, you just kind of need. Obviously, you can't really be raising children while you're on the run, and that's where Hayden comes in.
You need me to help you. Well,
You're the milk.
I'm the milker.
Yes.
Oh no, he was the one who had to eliminate the babies. But
why? Okay, first of all, you don't even need to have the women to produce milk for like you could just have animals to do it. Why would you have to have so many women to create breast milk?
Unless it's easier to. Well, I was about to say it's easier to communicate with women then, but because like, were you going to be lugging cows around with you on this journey?
No, but you said
I guess if you set up shop, yes.
I was going to say you said you were setting up shop on an island. Like, I mean, technically, we've already started it here. We have a compound of land that's in the mountains, and we have gardens and crops and whatnot. And the only thing we don't have is like livestock. So we don't have meat proteins, but That's the kind of
Can we
thing
just
that
go
I
back
would
to the
do.
cows for a second? Because, like, what am I supposed to do? Try and drive out and rally up a cow quickly and then get him to my boat?
Yep.
You're right. I should just have a cow already in
Just have a
preparation.
cow already. No, just find an island that already has wild cattle on it or some kind of animal. You could get like a camel. Camel can lug stuff.
Oh, that'll be easier. What are you talking about? What are you
I
talking
come
about,
from a
dude?
country that has the most amount of wild camels in it than anywhere in the world.
Really?
Okay, I
Yeah.
think we should specifically said if it started here.
Yeah.
No, it's like we're recording the podcast and then you get an alert on your phone like, oh, things are shutting down, the power goes out. You're like, what's going on? You don't know. All of a sudden you're looking outside because you're hearing commotion, and then there's like, you know what I mean? Like just like in real life, it's just like, oh my god, it's
How are we
happening.
gonna communicate? Because cell phone towers are down, Wi-Fi is down, no
Well,
power.
zombies wouldn't necessarily take out cell phone towers, I don't think.
Okay, so in this scenario, we still have communication via phone, right? Let's just make that a rule.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think it would be for a period of time.
Okay.
There's also like Skylinks already up there or whatever it's called. That would eliminates the need for any on ground cellular tower. But that's what I would do. I would have the
Camel.
resources, the camel. No, that was for Justin's situation. Mine would be to have it all set up here. You know,
You don't need
solar
women,
power.
you just need camels.
Just need camels.
Like we need water. Justin's like, I'll get the weapons. Hayden's like, I got the camel.
I'll get the camel. Wait, is this a one hump or a two hump camel?
Doesn't matter. They have like if you get two of them and then they can produce baby camels. But apparently the meat is like very tender steak meat. So you've got an animal that you could utilize to carry stuff for you, and then when it gets there, you're like, there you go, camels, do your thing. Then they'll have milk. You can kill it if when it gets old enough. Like you wanted an answer to it. It's not what I would do. You just wanted an answer to it. There you go.
First stop, Calgary Zoo. We're getting some camels.
There's a closer zoo. It's the Vancouver Zoo. Why are you gonna go to
I
Calgary?
know. I just didn't
for?
know if they had camels. I've never been.
You've never been?
It is a good point, though. I think a boat would be really, really helpful. And then I think we should relocate to a place with more wildlife to catch and
Yeah.
kill and hunt.
I think, we'd have to meet up.
Yeah.
Like us three have to meet up. So we'd have to plan out like our meeting point. Where do we meet?
Would it
Where
be
would it
some?
be?
Yeah, if you have a boat, then I mean Hayden's out in the buttfuck nowhere, so he's gonna take a while to get to us.
I'm on the river though. You can come down the Fraser River and pick me up.
I was gonna say, yeah, we could.
And he also has goats that we can maybe live off of for a while. Sorry, Hayden.
They don't
This is
produce
so
milk,
dumb.
so
No,
I
we
don't
could just eat them.
The meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need the milk.
no.
Yeah.
They're companions.
I know, but sorry.
That's what I mean. You need people that are willing to do what it takes to survive, Hayden. And if you won't eat a goat, then you can't be in this survival.
Yeah. Well, Hayden's gonna get all attached to camels now too. Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I think so. To round it up,
Yeah.
weapons very nice. Do you have weapons at home, both of you? In terms
Can't
of
answer that question, but
well, I'm not saying guns, but like
I've got items that could be used as weapons, like gardening tools and sporting equipment. Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Actually, what do you think of all? Okay, that's minus guns. What would be your zombie apocalypse weapon of choice? You see the classic bat with the nails. You know what I mean? Or is there anything in that you guys?
I mean, I have an axe, but I think you want something that will do damage, but that you can swing quick and easy. Like I got an axe. It's not massive, but if you're having to, you want something you can swing like bat with the nails would be good because it's easy to swing quick and lots, and you're not going to tire yourself out. Like an axe is quite heavy, right? But it
Yeah,
would be fun just going like axe, like full axe on some zombies.
The only thing I'm gonna counter with that of the bat and nails is although deadly, when there's maybe a swarm, I don't think you can do like a swell motion. And for an axe, you can do a swipe, he's dead. Swipe, he's dead. Whereas the bat, you have to bat, you might get stuck in the head. You have to yank it out, and then
That's true.
a reload of the swing might be a bit too long for more of a swarm situation. But that's
A samurai sword, then.
I do have a my dad used to collect swords, so I have a few swords I can bring for our
Yeah,
for
bring
our
some swords.
yeah. Hayden, what are you gonna bring?
I was gonna say golf clubs. Apparently, golf club creates the greatest amount of force with the least amount of effort. So you
That
can,
sounds like something a golfer would say.
yeah, and I don't
But
play golf.
but is it gonna bend after killing like
No idea.
30
Depends on how. If we raided a golf, golf pro shop or whatever the hell, give me your highest one wood. But who knows?
Boys, I think I know what we need to do. We need to get some golf clubs. We need to get a bat with nails, an axe, and a sword.
Yeah.
And we need to do a video of us attempting these on something.
Do we know anyone with a boat or a camel?
Yes, I know somebody with a boat.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
No camel.
And also, you don't need to know somebody. Like, it's the apocalypse. You
didn't
we
know
have
how to-
swords. Yeah,
how to
we just
drive
take
it though.
Yes,
So
I know
we
how
got
to
a
drive
boat. Who knows how to drive a boat? And, we'll just sit here.
Shao knows how to drive a boat. We've been on a boat together.
There you go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So there we go.
So
Okay.
we got a plan in motion. I think we can flush it out a bit more. Listen, people, if you haven't come up with a plan for the apocalypse, then you need to get on it. But speaking of getting on it, we need to move on. Maybe we'll save for the next episode the time and what it would take to actually build a bunker of the style in this show. I know we haven't talked too much about the show, but it's still early on. We're still trying to find out details. We'll get into some more of that. But for right now, let's move on to the Dome of Knowledge trivia.
Ooh.
So this is a shorter than the last trivia I held, which was 172 questions. This one is only 7. Okay. And we're going to start off with something I'm sure both of you know. And we're going to start it off with a bang. Okay, here we go. Question 1. Play along at home. What was the 6-digit code written on the cigarette?
Waiting.
Shao.
6-digit code 812092.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And Shao, did you have a theory about that code?
Okay, well, you know what? At first, there were two. I think they're both wrong. I thought that had significance because there's one shot when he's looking at the cigarette of the numbers, and then immediately the next shot was of airplane with digits on the back of it. So I thought it's something to do with maybe that's the airplane that maybe X's wife was. I don't know, something to do with that. I thought it had something to do with that, but then I kind of didn't think so. But I also thought those numbers rather, are also potential letters. 8 being B, I, one can be I, that kind of thing. And then 1 and 2 sometimes together can be put as R, if you look at it in a certain. So, but I thought it could potentially be some sort of coder or whatever. But I think it's also too obvious for a show like this to have it as a word. So
Right.
I think those theories are incredibly untrue.
Yeah, I think they are as well. Hayden, did you? I regret asking you that question. Okay. Did you have any theories about the numbers, Hayden?
It'd have to be some kind of old CIA style coding system. It would have to be something. So I think Shao is on the right direction with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not necessarily be a plain obvious word. It could be maybe that was the code for the data pad, or the code for the safe, or maybe it is the license number of a plane in the hangar that they're not supposed to go into that has like a backup of something in there or something, like find the information here. Like it could be just the start of a trail of things, like false fall safes. If I am to die, follow this code. But it would just be, he's like, my die. Like, when did he have time to write that on a single cigarette? Like, why?
Maybe whenever he never smokes that cigarette, whenever he gets a new pack, he always puts that one, when he takes the first one out, he puts that one in. So he's always got that in his pack of cigarettes.
I'm sorry. Do you guys do that thing? I'm Justin. I know you used to smoke.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, I didn't know about this. Where some people, when they get a new pack, they flip one upside down, and that's their lucky one that they save for the very end or something like that. Did you ever do that or know anything like that?
No, I've never heard of that. I just rip it open and light it as fast as I can and get that hit of nicotine because daddy's jonesing. There's always a big thing too of, because when I used to smoke, I would always open the right hand side because the pack. Actually, it's different when I moved to Vancouver because they'd only ever sell packs of 20, where in Alberta they would sell packs of 25. So there's kind of, the packs are bigger and there's sort of two halves, and I always opened the right first. But everybody else I knew always opened the left first, and they thought I was crazy for opening the right first. And I tried it, and I was like, it felt weird opening the left first and picking from the left side instead of going from right to left, even though I know you read from left to right. But I think because maybe I'm right-handed, so grabbing across, I don't know, it was like a whole thing. I was like, you guys are crazy.
Sorry, you said there's a pack of 25?
Yeah.
Of two? Like a pack. And how they split 25 into two? Packs.
Well, one side would have more, one side would have 13 and one side would have 12. So maybe that's why. Maybe they saved the 13 for last. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. Well, moving on.
Moving on. Question number 2. I'm sure both of you have this as well. What's the president's name?
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Shao?
I'm sorry, you have to be more specific. The new president? Or
Okay. The president that X is assigned to protect.
President Cal Bradford.
That is correct. Very good. Shao for 2 points. Okay, question 3. What was the name of the song the president's son, Cal Bradford, was? Shao?
This city.
That is correct. And for a bonus question, who sings that song?
Ding, 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 ding. It's
Hayden.
Starship, isn't it?
That is correct.
When you said it, I'm like, yeah, Starship. I forgot it. Nice. Very good.
Very good. Okay, question 5. What is the title of episode 2?
Ding, 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 ding.
Shao.
Sinatra.
That is correct. Hayden, you have some catching up to do.
Up 5
1, 2, 3, 4 for Shao. 1 for Hayden. I included the bonus question as a question. How many people was the city designed to house?
Ding, 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 ding.
Shao.
Does Hayden have a leg?
Does he have leg?
Yeah.
There would
Did
have
you
to be
dig
because
first?
I was like, I 2-second beat
Okay.
him, but
Okay.
it's
Okay, Hayden.
It's
Hayden.
okay. No.
No,
20
Hayden.
25,000.
That is correct. Very good.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now we're going to end with a little bit more of a difficult one. This was possibly one of my favorite lines of dialogue in the whole 2 episodes. When does Agent X tell President Bradford he'll sleep again?
Ding, ding, ding.
Shao.
Uh-oh.
Like,
when does he say it, or do you want the line of dialogue?
No, I want. I mean, it is a part of the line of dialogue, and I can give part of the line of dialogue as a clue. But no. Shao dinged. So when does Agent X tell the president he'll sleep again?
When he dies.
I'll give it to you. That is correct.
I said no, exact.
He says, no, it's close enough. He says, I'll forgive you when I sleep again, and I'll sleep again when you're dead.
Right.
And that's
And
sort of,
that caught me up by surprise too.
yeah, that's kind of like one of the first times you're like, whoa, there's some serious tension between these two people.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, man. I'm really interested when they start getting into that stuff because this guy obviously does not like the guy he is, you know, assigned to protect with his life, who literally, yeah, he took a bullet for this president. And something happened that we don't know yet. And yet he will still is his top number one security guy.
We don't know exactly what happened, but it's something to do with his wife.
It's got to be something to do with his wife. And one, why does he still want to do it? Two, why does President Bradford still want him to do it? Hayden, you looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, didn't he initially say that his wife was working on something in Colorado to the president?
Ooh.
So she was, if she was a scientist and she's already working in Colorado, then yeah, something bad has definitely happened if she was working on the dome and wasn't allowed in. But if anything has, storytelling has taught me is that there is not just one dome.
Yeah.
There is another one, and maybe she's in the other one. Who knows? So it'll be revealed, no doubt. But
oh wait, so do you think that potentially like she's not dead?
I do. I think that she's potentially not dead. But he's unaware of that. Because he's obviously like, there's only one dome. We'll get there with the president. Family gets there, minus my wife, who actually helped build it. But if they were building a second one at the same time, because ultimately your population is going to grow outside of 25,000. You're going to need another space to go to.
That is true.
That's true.
That is true.
But anyway, on that, I'll continue my losing streak.
Yes. Congratulations, Shao, for continuing Hayden's losing streak. And for you listening at home, that is a wrap for this episode of Chummy Thumbs. We've cracked codes, questioned government security, and debated whether we'd even make it a week in a post-apocalyptic world. Spoiler, probably not. Let us know your thoughts. What would you put in your survival dome? Do you have a doomsday plan, or are you just hoping for the best? Hit us up on socials, and don't forget to tune in next week as we break down the next chapter, the next two episodes, actually, episodes 3 and 4 of Paradise. And of course, we'll end with another round of Dome of Knowledge, because in a world like this, knowledge is survival. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and keep on thumbing.
Clink.
Clank.
Nice wife.